somewhere in New Mexico or something, and a big bus of Boy Scouts. But one of them, he and I, it was like something out of Roswell. We were supposed to meet or something, and my grandmother seemed to, she always catered to me. She loved me very much. But I remember there was a little window open over the bathroom stool in the bathroom again, and she came in while my aunt and uncle were packing or something to look. And they were sort of, trying to load the car or something, but she saw me in there. I was just trying not to be seen by the people outside. And I was standing up on my tiptoes, trying to see out the window. And she's like, "What are you looking at?" And she said, "Was that boy you saw last night or something?" And she looked out, and she said, "Do you want to go say bye to him?" And I said, yeah, because she walked me out there, and I was real shy and embarrassed. So it's the first time I think I recognized a boy like a boy or something, because I was third or fourth grade, but hadn't got to White Sands yet. But for some reason, I still dream about that. It's the boy on the bus in the Boy Scout uniform, with the shorts and the tie and all that. And then later on, my father winds up being in that and going to that Boy Scout jamboree, being a Boy Scout leader, and taking my brother. And they went to the New Mexico National Jamboree thing. But I don't know who that was, but it still comes up in my dreams, that boy. I don't know if I meet him later or if he was an E.T. boy, or which one out of 30 or 40 getting on the bus. But I don't know. We had some kind of weird connection. It was very strange. And we just, I remember standing and just looking in front of him. He didn't talk and I didn't talk. He came up from the bus and, everybody getting on. And I remember a man standing there smiling, and he walked up halfway on the sidewalk it was a straight sidewalk. And then he's up on the sidewalk. It's where they put a little line and then a cement line and a cement in front of a little motel. And I go out halfway, and I look at him, and he looks at me. And we just look at each other. And I think he said bye finally after a few minutes. It was very awkward. But we did exchange something or something. And then I walked back to my grandmother, and she held my hand, and he got on the bus, and we waved. And I walked in. I was really sad. So it was a very strong connection for a third grader going into fourth. I remember he was older than me and taller than me, but we had some kind of connection. Because I think he may have been 12 and I was 9 going on 10. But all of a sudden I remember wanting to be older. So I don't know why that's important, but it was important. There was some kind of connection.
It was important. Yeah.
He had to go
and I have weird things like that too. There's such a powerful moment that here it's like 60 years later, 55 years later, and you still remember it and you never forget it. And it's a puzzle. Like, why was that so important? And then you keep dreaming it again. And I had the same thing with not a little boy, but I went to the what was it called? It was an amusement park. It wasn't Westview Park. It was Kennywood Park, which was on the other side of town. So it was a big deal going there because my parents didn't drive very much. So we would go to we went to Kennywood Park, and I'm very young. So this is in that period between like 4 and 5, somewhere in there. And I'm very young. And suddenly there's this laughing lady, was mechanical. And she would open her mouth and she would laugh and her whole body would shake and she'd go, ah, ha, 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 ha. And then her head would go down, and then her head would go back again, until it was down again. And I started watching that thing, and then suddenly nobody could find me. So I know they have clowns and things like that, or screen memories, and they have amusement parks, and so they have these little key things around your abduction. So I know there, it was kind of like after that it was like a Alice in Wonderland thing, right? So I'm going towards this building with a big opening, like a a mouth or something. There's a giant mouth is the door, and it makes a character like a clown or something. So I'm going up to this building to go into this mouth, which was part of a building, and it was almost like a Disneyland type of thing. And so I have all this stuff going on, and then suddenly I'm back at Kennywood Park, and I'm looking at the lady that's laughing. So all kinds of stuff happened in between, and I hear the loudspeaker. If anybody's seen a little girl, please bring her to the, wherever they want me to be brought to. And then suddenly I was found, and then somebody took me to where they wanted me, and my parents were panicked. Same thing, like you had that. Like, where were you? Where have you been? Explain that you were, and I don't even, I've never done a hypnosis around that. I need to do hypnosis on that because they took me. So that was missing time, but I knew where I was the whole time, but I was missing for them. And I never wandered around away from them purposely. It was a setup. They were blanked out, and I was taken in the middle of the day in an amusement park with hundreds of people around.
In the Six Flags.
You're what?
Twice. One of my daughters was missing twice at the amusement park, and we found her at the little. We were all together, and then she wasn't there twice. It's very traumatic. She got lost from us, and it's impossible because we were holding hands and everything, but when the crowds walk by or something, but she and none of us could understand. I was in tears and running around, and it was a long time. It was like an hour. They finally, because we were making a big deal looking for her and everything, but she got separated. That was Stephanie, number 3 of my daughters.
Oh,
but
wow.
She got that. Yeah, so it comes in generation to generation. But let me go back to that part you asked me about. That was when I was seeing that little boy, and we went over to my Leo had taught me some special powers, and I knew I had them. So, because I'd been practicing like levitation kind of stuff, right, with my blocks and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened was when my grandmother lived at 1503 South 3rd, back in the day, they would put these culverts down, these circle cement things, in the ditches everywhere in Louisiana and Monroe. Anyway, they had ditches out. Then you'd from the street, then a ditch on each side, where she lived anyway on South 3rd, and then they'd put these cement things in the dirt over it, and you drove up. She never had an asphalt sidewalk. There was always dirt with rocks in it, and there two grass would grow in the middle of the two little things up next to her house. And anyway, the old Plymouth, they were 50, had like a ship, a Plymouth ship on the front of it. It's old, big old round, old Plymouth. The old cars to me looked alike, but 55, maybe 56, I don't know. But I was standing in the back seat when we were little kids. Stood in the back seat. They were real bouncy.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have to have seat belts back then. So my dad was notorious for trying to move out at night and turning too quick. There were big old wheels and big old tires and big old steering wheel. But he occasionally, more than 3 times, would pull off too quick and get off the culvert, and the wheel would drop down, and so he'd have to jack it up. Well, one night, my mother's sister was working out at Old Madison, but he was a basketball player at that time, living in the next room, my grandma. So he came out to help my dad. So he did it for my dad, standing there with the kids, and the jack came undone and fell, and my dad was standing behind him and caught him. So when the jack fell down between the culvert and the wheel, because they were trying to get it up off the cement. It's a real odd thing how they had it jacked anyway. But the jack fell somehow and pinned him under it, and he fell back on my dad, between my dad's legs. So my dad was pinned under him, and then the jack, and they were yelling for my mom because they would say, it's cursing him, you've got to come. And Mama was scared, and she didn't know what to do because Mama would panic sometimes. But I was in the back, and I said, Mama, I can help him. And she said, no, just stay in the car, Mama. I said, and she wouldn't move. It's like forever. So she was like, oh, what am I going to do? Because she knew Sister couldn't have my grandma. But so I said, Mama, I can do it. Let me get out. So I just opened the door and got out and walked around, went over and picked the car up. And my uncle looked at me like I was super baby. It's like a Superman thing. You know,
You were.
I mean, I picked up the car off the jack so they could slide out from under it, and he was looking at my dad like, "How did she do that? Did you see what she did? She just saved my life. How did she do that?" And my dad's like, "I don't know." But my dad was just so glad. He didn't think. He's like, "I don't know, but you know, come on." And so he got him up. And they, you know, went back to get it fixed and got in the car and left, I guess. But my uncle just. He always looked at me really, really strange growing up with his kids and stuff. He knew that wasn't possible, but my dad didn't. It didn't seem to. For some reason, my dad, I don't know. He didn't seem to be fazed by it. So maybe my dad knew something about me, or knew I was different. I don't know. They always treated me unique, but my uncle did not ever get over that, you know. But I remember having extra strength from time to time, but it was like only certain times, and I still have a grip, and my grandson has it. So sometimes you can grip something, and, you know, I don't know where it comes from. And some people say some people have that. So Stan Lee was, you know, following me when I was writing for UFO Digest. You know, Stan Lee, these comic books.
Right.
He was looking for super people. And that's when I realized, why is he looking and reading my stuff? And then he and I would talk. And he was looking for super people for his TV show. He was putting real people in it. But anyway, I didn't want to do it. Remember, I've always been real, don't want to do that. So I don't want to expose myself, you know. But I don't think I have it. I think it seemed to be, after that, I went into the mind part, you know, studying how you can influence people with your mind and stuff in teenage years. But that was before I even went to White Sands. So now we're just stuck over White Sands.
You're pretty young, right? Yeah.
We're going to run out of time before we ever get it way up to now. I knew that was going to happen. It's a long story, you know, for you and me both to tell, but it's going to take a few chapters.
We don't need to speed through it. Yeah, we can just do a little bit at a time. Yeah,
do a PowerPoint on it. Take 2 hours.
I think that'd be great. Yeah.
We got to find some pictures to sort of do this and make a PowerPoint for, you know, everybody has to compare how their stories. We all have something similar in the experiencers, and they're just now involved where they're going to let people tell them, even though they've been doing it to Congress. But I've never been to a UFO Congress meeting or a UFO or a MUFON conference or any of those. We've never been asked to tell our stories, but now it appears from us filling out that contact form for MUFON that they're going to have with Kathy Martin and Denise Stoner here in Florida where I am, but they're way down south near Orlando, and I'm way up here in the Panhandle. I'm even on Central Time, you know, just about 60 miles from Mobile here, Pensacola, and I'm in Gulf Breeze over the 3 Mile Bridge, but you're in Hawaii. And we both had somebody call, but I didn't have a good reaction to they call it the ERT. It's Experiencer Research Team with Denise and some guy named Mitch. And anyway, some man heads it up, and Jan Harzan, you know, makes sure he gets the forms, and then they disperse them. And I've talked to Earl Gray. His name's Earl Anderson. But his stage name, being a guitarist, is Earl Gray, and he's an LPN. His daughter's an RN, but he's real sweet. He's the assistant director for California. So, you know, he's going to help us with our association and all these things because he's had experiences, and his mother worked for Howard Hughes. And Jan Harzan, they'll be back to tell their stories, and we'll find out their encounter stories. But talking about personal experiences, awakening reality, disclosure of what was kept secret, we'll have to get to that towards the end as adults. But becoming intuitive counselors, and I do tarot cards, and you see dead people. So we all have skills, but Janet and I have some skills, but, you know, nothing superpower, nothing. It's just, it is what it is as you grow up and grow older.
It is what it is.
Telling our story and how it works in today's time and sharing all the stuff that I think is going to be a normal future, that people realize they're not just in the future 3D people, like we were thought to believe or